Hello, and thanks for watching our latest Culture Pioneers conversation, where we'll be exploring employee wellbeing that goes beyond the tick box and is fully embedded into company culture. My name's Becky Norman. I'm the managing editor of HR Zone, and this conversation is part of our Culture Pioneers campaign, which is powered by HR Zone. And through this campaign, we are on a mission to both support organisations driving culture change and to commend those who are making a tangible impact on their culture through our awards programme. And today I am absolutely delighted to be joined by one of our 2024 winners, Melissa Cochrane, Wellbeing Development Senior Manager of Pharmacist Support. Pharmacist Support is an independent charity that supports the pharmacist profession and their loved ones. And last year, they won the Wellbeing category of our Culture Pioneer Awards for their achievements in building out a holistic employee wellbeing plan that led to some impressive turnover improvements. Melissa, congratulations once again, and thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Oh, thank you. It's really great to be here.
So let's start with the challenge you were facing initially at Pharmacist Support. You were struggling with significant employee turnover and low satisfaction levels, and you needed to uncover why. So you conducted your first ever employee survey. Could you tell us a little bit about what you found?
Yeah, so I would say that this particular journey started in 2019 after, as you said, a fairly significant amount of staff turnover and low levels of satisfaction within the charities. So we had a new chief executive, an eager senior management team, and an engaged trustee board. All of those things helped with making the change we knew we needed to make. So we did a strategic review, and this helped us to establish a new mission and vision. And this is what kind of underpins everything else. So our new mission was to champion the well-being of our pharmacy family. And our vision was that nobody in our pharmacy family will face challenging times without us by their side. So if we're going to be taking care of other people's well-being, it was very clear that well-being needed to be a huge part of what we do internally as a charity too. So what we decided we needed to do was to launch our first staff survey, which we now run annually. And this helped us to understand what staff felt needed to be changed in order to increase well-being. One of the first things that we implemented was moving the charity from a 9-to-5 office sort of job to providing a lot more flexibility. This sort of immediately had a knock-on impact to people's well-being. So we started a new flexible working policy, a new reward and recognition policy, and these were both fully supported by the Board of Trustees. We had a staff well-being budget, which helped us to do sort of discretionary and ad hoc activities for well-being, which helped to bring up morale. We have a staff development budget, and this is not long after all of this is when I joined as the charity's sort of dedicated well-being, I don't like saying it, but expert, if you will. You know, I have training and my background is in this area. So I started leading our own internal well-being work as well as the work that we do for well-being for our beneficiaries. So yeah, we've always encouraged open dialogue, and that was a huge thing we had to address at the beginning, was getting communication going and making sure that communication was happening in a really healthy way.
Great, thank you for that. And when you came on board, obviously there's a lot you were doing there to turn things around.
Yeah.
But in terms of your kind of thinking around your strategy and how you get started and those initial steps, could you kind of take us through your kind of thought process with that?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we identified a culture of defensiveness and a top-down approach. we knew that we had to engage and empower the team to tell us what was needed. And so the staff survey was part of ensuring that they had that voice, and making sure that it was anonymous meant that people could say what they really thought. So this was one of the first things that we did that really started to establish that trust. We now have lots of ways for people to be open and honest about their well-being needs. So we have an annual staff survey. We have ad hoc well-being surveys, monthly catch-ups with line managers. And we also have staff meetings. Well-being is a standing item in our team meeting agenda. And this is really important for us because it's at those team meetings when we can really be very explicit about what culture it is that we're working to establish. So we've done a lot of work on assuming best intention at the charity. So I've gone through explaining what it means to assume best intention, to give examples, and this has really helped to make it a safe space for people, because we don't have people so much responding with defensiveness or fear or annoyance. It's more, we're very conscious to think the best of each other, and that makes a huge difference as well. And that has to come from the top. Like, you really do need to lead from the front in this. You can't expect change to happen unless like leaders are willing to do it themselves. We also encourage everyone to take part in a My Wellbeing plan with their line manager. And this is an individual well-being plan where people talk about their well-being needs, what kinds of things impact their well-being positively as well as negatively, helping line managers to know, like, if you're starting to struggle, what might some of the first signs be that I would notice? And if I do notice these things, how would you like me to approach you, so that it's comfortable for that person if there is a need for them to get some support. And this has been really great. I know that in my team, we've used these a number of times. So just briefly, we also engaged in coaching as a senior management team, and this helped us a lot. We've offered it out to all staff. And I think those are probably the main things we've done.
Well, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm curious, you mentioned that well-being is kind of like a standing item in meetings now.
Yeah.
What does that look like in practice?
So almost every team meeting that we have, well-being will be an agenda item. So there was a time when I took everybody through mindfulness, what it is to be mindful. We did mindfulness practices, and that was something that we did over a few months in our team meetings. We do little, like I'll bring in a video of communication and when it goes well and when it breaks down. Some of them are kind of funny, and like they just keep people engaged, and we'll talk about communication and what makes good communication and what leads to communication breakdown. Assuming best intention, as I've already mentioned, comes up almost every team meeting. We're talking about making sure that we do assume the best of each other, because, you know, it's really easy when you're all working from different places. So we are hybrid. There's some people who go into the office regularly, but there are a lot of people who've chosen to work more from home. So when you're not seeing each other all the time, you don't have those body language cues and those regular tea breaks or whatever, where you're bonding and building relationships. So if you get an email from someone that seems that you interpret as snappy or, you know, cold, what we've been working on is assuming that that person had their best intentions when they sent it. Maybe they were really busy and they just thought they needed to, you know, dash this answer out quickly. It didn't land quite right for you, but their intention probably wasn't to hurt you, upset you, or make you feel belittled. It was maybe what was going on for them. So we do a lot of work around that, and I think that that has made a big change.
Yeah, I'm sure it has, because that is definitely a growing issue with kind of globally dispersed workplaces and some people
Yeah,
working from home, etc.
yeah,
And you mentioned some people are in the office, and I know from your entry that you worked on kind of creating a new physical working
yeah.
space, which it would be great for you to describe in a moment.
Sure, sure. So
Yeah.
we have a great space. We moved to a new managed office, which is really welcoming. We put a lot of thought into how we furnished our office space. We tried to make it feel comfortable with with the furniture that we chose. We have like sitting and standing desks that people can move, so that like personally, I don't like sitting down all day. It makes me feel really awful. So you can stand up and work as well. We have a diffuser in there, which makes it smell nice. Um, and the office space that we use also put on activities for everybody in the building, and from surrounding buildings that they own as well. So there are lots of fun things like there would be like different kinds of lunch and learn sessions, some art classes, cooking classes. There's all kinds of stuff that people can do together, that the building puts on as well. And so that's been really nice.
And have you found that that's encouraged people to work in the office? I'm just curious to know, because there's obviously like this continued trend of return to office mandates and people kind of being forced back to the office, but they're not really setting the office up with inclusion in mind.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested in your thoughts on that.
So we have not decided to go down that route. So we've not said to people they need to return to the office. We've made it as inviting as possible for people who want to be there. But we absolutely have members of the team who are most comfortable working from home for whatever reason. We've got, there may be someone with a health issue and they feel that home is the best place for them for health reasons. We might have neurodivergent people who feel that they work better in a quieter environment with fewer distractions. So we really offer that choice, which I think makes life a lot easier for our employees. And people tell us that they actually get a lot more done based on the fact that they can either be in the office where they feel more productive or be at home where they feel more productive. And I just don't believe that there is one way that's better. It's really individual. However, within the office, we have a second space that people can book out to have meetings, so that the main space can remain quiet for people who need to work in a quieter space. So we do try to be inclusive and to understand what individuals need, and to make sure that they can access that either at work or at home.
Yeah, it seems like your approach is the kind of best way to create a more inclusive environment that encourages people to come back rather than demanding so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another area that you kind of talked through within your entry for Culture Pioneers, and one that judges in particular lauded you for, was your learning and development offering. How do you see skills growth as nurturing a culture of well-being? And you've kind of touched on it a little bit already, but could you kind of
Yeah.
give us some tangible examples of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've mentioned a few of the things we've done as a team, but we also encourage staff in learning other self-management strategies. So mindfulness and meditation is one example, understanding their own learning and performance style, and then also understanding the learning and performance styles of people in their team. So that's a really interesting one. We had everybody go away and do a learning styles assessment, and then bring their results back to the team. And then we talked about it and said, like, oh, like this was so interesting, because now I realize why I do things this way and why my other team member does things a really different way. And then you can learn how to really play to each other's strengths and to use your own strengths. And it can reduce conflict within the team when you understand that you might have a completely different approach to the same problem that somebody else would. So we've really been able to use that very positively. We also created a course called Embracing a Workplace Wellbeing Culture, and that we developed for pharmacy managers and leaders, but our entire team has taken it as well, not just management, but everybody. It helps us to all be starting from the same page, really. We're learning the same communication skills, the same background as to why we're making all of these changes, and we're implementing it all together. Those are probably the main ones. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot there.
Yeah.
Great. And just a couple more questions. So I really like to make sure we offer guidance in these discussions.
Yeah.
So just thinking of maybe a wellbeing manager or HR professional who is in a similar situation as Pharmacist Support was a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
where you were uncovering similar kinds of issues.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to them being at the start of their journey, and how to kind of shape their strategy?
That's a great question. And my first piece of advice would be to start with a fully anonymous staff survey, because it's really hard to make a change if you don't know what people are actually feeling. And you might think you know what the issues are, but you can get surprises if people are allowed to tell you in a fully anonymous way. So I would start from there, and I would work with the leaders and the management team to really cultivate an attitude of non-defensiveness at the answers that come out of that. Because if you can really look at it from a perspective of, what great information it is, now we can change things, we can grow, it's much better, rather than feeling kind of attacked or upset because people don't necessarily like the way things have been. It's much easier to pivot and make change if you look at it from that perspective. So I would start there. Then I would look at how leadership is functioning, because, as I said before, culture change really has to come from the top. So I'd be looking at what is the mindset of the leadership team. I'd be looking at what beliefs do they have about workers and working and that kind of thing, and bringing those out, and really working on making sure that the management team have a shared vision and are working together well. So we found group coaching to be really invaluable to our senior management team. That helped us a lot. And I would recommend that in senior management teams, you really start to develop a culture of valuing and understanding the individual. So you're really looking at each team member as a person with their own quirks and strengths and areas to improve on, and always thinking like, how can we make things better? How can we help this person to live, fulfill their best potential? And this, I think people feel it if you're coming at work from that kind of perspective. Employees feel it, and that really helps a lot as well.
And they know if it's meaningful and not just kind of,
Very much so. Yeah.
Great. That's fantastic advice. Thank you, Melissa. I just have one more question for you before we wrap up. What does it mean to you to be a winner of the Culture Pioneer Awards?
Oh, it was just such an amazing time to receive that award. Meant an awful lot to us, because we've really heavily invested in workplace well-being. We've decided that if we're going to be advising others on well-being, we really have to be at the forefront ourselves. So we worked so hard to put these practices into place, and it felt so much as an acknowledgement of how far we've come and the massive impact it's had on our workforce. Personally, for me, it felt great because it's been such a focus of my job. It felt very rewarding and validating. And I think it feels especially great to us because we're a small charity, and I suppose we applied for this amongst a field of applicants who came from all kinds of backgrounds, not all from the charitable sector, a lot of really large organizations. And it felt it just felt wonderful for us to win, even up against such really fantastic competition. So it was really good for us.
Well, it was very well deserved. And yeah, I think it is really impressive to be a winner amongst, like you said, all those other industries out there, because you, as a charity, you have limited budgets, and you have to be really creative with what you do. And I think sometimes that's actually what makes the best entries, because you have to really work hard and be creative, and your entry showed that. So yeah, congratulations again. And thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciated it. And I'm sure what you've shared with us and the advice you've given will be really helpful for those who are working through their wellbeing culture now.
That's great. Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. And for those who are listening at the time of this recording, which is April 2025, the entry period for our 2025 awards is still open, and the deadline is 3rd of June. So if you're doing great things with your culture, no matter what organisation you're in, what industry, what size, please do take part in the awards. We really want to hear your stories and celebrate your successes. And I'll include a link in the show notes. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you, Becky.